The phone rang while I was crossing Bahnhofstrasse. Once, then again. By the third vibration, I already knew who it was without looking. I stopped. Across the street, winter light bounced off glass and chrome. People moved like extras. Then I saw her. The cardboard sign trembled in her hands. Anything helps. Her hair was thinner. Her posture folded inward like she was apologizing to gravity. She didn't look up. She never did when guilt sat nearby. My phone kept ringing. I silenced it. 10 years ago, a different phone rang. A burner. A voice that didn't know my name told me to take the left exit instead of the tunnel. A small mercy. A miscalculation on her part. I crossed the street. She looked up when my shadow touched the sign. Recognition arrived late, but it arrived hard. Her mouth opened, closed. Her eyes searched my face for the man she remembered. He wasn't there. I reached into my coat. The movement made her flinch. Old reflexes die loud. I placed the envelope in her hand. 5,000, I said. My voice surprised me, calm, flat. She whispered my name. Never contact me again. The phone rang again. 71 missed calls waited like a swarm. I walked away before she could remember how to cry. People think betrayal announces itself with drama. It doesn't. It leaks. Back then, it leaked through her patience, through the way she stopped asking where I was going, through the sudden tenderness that felt rehearsed. I was building something fragile. Capital, trust, a future that required silence. She learned my silences too well. The first sign wasn't the money. It was the way she listened when I spoke about exits, schedules, habits. The questions were innocent, perfectly timed. I told myself it was intimacy. Denial is efficient. It keeps the lights on. Then there were the absences. Not affairs, worse. Meetings I wasn't invited to. Calls she took outside. Laughter that didn't belong to me. The night the brakes failed, I understood how thin luck can be. The next morning, she kissed my cheek like a ritual. No fear, no relief. That's when the cold settled in. I didn't accuse. I didn't ask. I watched. Love teaches you tells. Betrayal teaches you patterns. She had both. I became quiet on purpose. I smiled at dinners. I funded weekends. I played the role she had written for me. Inside, I built a ledger. Phone records first, then calendars, then the soft art of listening without reacting. There was a name she never said but circled. A consultant. A man who charged too much and stayed too long. I ordered a private audit disguised as due diligence. I learned where money bends when it thinks no one is watching. I rerouted my routines, changed routes, changed times. I learned which corners held cameras and which held habits. At night, I lay beside her and counted my breaths until they matched hers. I memorized the distance between our pulses. Fear tried to visit. I didn't let it stay. Strategic calm isn't numbness. It's a decision. When the first report came in, I didn't read it right away. I poured coffee. I watched steam rise and disappear. I reminded myself that truth doesn't need urgency. It needs accuracy. I kept going to work. I kept coming home. I kept letting her believe she was ahead. The folder was thin. Truth often is. Emails, transfers. A contract that wasn't a contract. A contingency that carried my name like a footnote. The consultant was a courier. The plan was older than I thought. The payment schedule matched my routines with an intimacy that felt obscene. I placed the folder on the table one morning between the salt and the butter. She looked at it like it might explode. "Read," I said. Her hands shook. Mine didn't. She cried in the places I expected. Denied in the order I predicted. When she reached the end, she stopped making noise. "Why?" she asked. I shrugged. "You tell me." She tried to touch me. I moved my chair back an inch. That inch ended the marriage. Revenge doesn't require volume. It requires timing. I left first, quietly. I took nothing that could be argued over. I let the narrative rot on its own. Years passed. I built companies that outgrew rooms. I learned languages that don't forgive mistakes. I bought a villa where the lake reflects only what you bring to it. Then Thanksgiving came. My daughter-in-law called. Her voice was sharp with entitlement she hadn't earned. "If you want to join, come wash the dishes," she said, laughing. "Enjoy," I replied. I posted nothing. Someone else did. The photos traveled faster than truth ever had. The phone rang until the number stopped meaning anything. I didn't answer. I was already in Zurich, placing an envelope into a hand that once held a pen against my name. Back at the villa, the lake was still. I poured a drink I didn't need. Betrayal ages people differently. Some bend, some sharpen. I don't hate her. Hate requires proximity. I gave her money because it was small enough to be final. Because mercy, when chosen, can be colder than punishment. Control isn't loud. It's the absence of need. The phone finally stopped ringing. I stood by the window and watched the light leave the mountains. The man she tried to erase learned how to be untraceable. And the man I am now doesn't look back, because nothing there is alive anymore.